Good morning. Great. Good morning. I'm just going to be here for a short time, just talking about our Care for the Carers project and some of the main issues that we've seen over the last couple of weeks as we've been supporting people and some of the issues that I think need clarity. Good morning. Please let me know if you can hear me clearly. Just say you can hear me. Thank you. That's great. Thank you so much. Good morning. So my name is Rumbi and I'm from Tulia. I work at Tulia. I'm not from Tulia. I'm from Mashingo. I am from Chivi. But I work at Tulia. So um, I'm just going to jump on here just to talk about some of the issues that we've seen as we've started our Care for the Carers project. And there's some things that we need to bring clarity. Thank you, Kathy. I won't delete it. I usually leave on videos forever because anyone can watch it. So if you're watching afterwards, good morning and hello. I'm in sunny Coventry today, and yeah, we're here. Yes, shout out to all of Asma Vitori Vejira. Isusu Makaranga. Hello to everyone. When I hear someone speaking in Shona, in the Karanga dialect, I have so much joy. Ndinonzwa kufara, because it just takes me back home and takes me back to growing up, to my fathers and my uncles and Vanatete and everyone. So yeah, shout out to everyone from our area. Wonderful. Thank you. Good morning. Yes, so I'm going to just be here for a short time. I know there's so many people who have so much information for carers, right? And there's information everywhere. We are we There's so much information in this area, in this time that we live in, and sometimes people get access to wrong information, sometimes people get access to right information, but hey, we live in a time when there's so much going on. So I just want to bring clarity to some of the issues that I had that we've seen, and to help someone who's there. It might not be you, but it might be someone that you know. So we've had a few cases of I'll talk about switching in a bit, Grace. So hold on to that question. But I wanted to talk about some of the issues initially about at the port of entry, about people being refused entry. When people have arrived here in the UK, everything is good. They've got their visas, but they arrive. So this is mainly for people who are here. So vanhu vasati vawana masponsor, sorry henyu, sorry, keep trying and your time will come, because the shortage is still there. And the shortage is still there. Michelle, don't get depressed about it. You know what? You never know when your time will come. You never know how your time will come. You never know how your breakthrough will come. Wherever you are, you might find that you will have a breakthrough there, and you were never meant to be here. I think I've become a person who just becomes maybe learn to just to trust. To trust. If you're a believer, if you're someone who believes, trust God. Maybe your aim is to come here, but maybe that's not his plan for you. So I know, Shang, Kuti, you might be feeling like giving up, but just hang in there and have faith. But for those who are here, some of the problems, it will even help you, Michelle, before you come. You never know. Some of the people are um, being stopped at the entry, at the airport, Vatoshika, with everything. And some are being questioned for 6, 7, 8 hours. Others are being refused entry. And others are having their visas cancelled and being sent back. So that happens all the time. It's not anything new. It's not anything unique to Zimbabweans. It's not because there's somebody who's reported you particularly, but it happens all the time that when you meet an immigration officer at the port when you're entering, they will ask questions. If they've got any issues which raise suspicion, or if there's anything that they want to investigate further, then at that point, they're entitled to ask you anything that they want to ask. They're entitled to cancel the visa. They're entitled to do anything that they want. I've got some people who want to come onto the video, but I don't like adding people onto my onto my videos. Let me talk as me. Then I have full responsibility for what I say. So I know someone's asking to be added, but I don't like adding people. So anyway, as I was saying, points of entry, if you've got relatives who are coming, if you're coming, then just bear that in mind, that you can get questions asked at any time. And some of the issues that are there is that you might be questioned because there's already concerns. So there may be concerns about genuine vacancies. So when we've been supporting people who are in destitution, there's carers who are, some people are sleeping rough, like sleeping at the train station. I know we've all got stories of when we came to England, but we didn't expect that this new wave, we would have stories of people sleeping outside. And, we didn't expect that the people would reach times where they have nowhere to stay. But there's people who are coming here and having nowhere to live, not because of their own things that they've done, but because and not only because of Zimbabwean employers. So when we say sponsors, we're not talking about Zimbabweans, but sometimes some people are actually working for bigger organizations, and they are not able to pay for their rent because they haven't been paid, or because they haven't they're paying back money, so they might be in debt bondage, or they've been promised something and they come, there's no work. So we're talking about people who don't have work, where there's no work for them. So people do all sorts of things, isn't it? So sometimes people will say, I just want to get there, and they're told when they're abroad, wherever they are, that you are coming but there's no job. So people use the system for their own ends, and then they come here, there's no job, there's no accommodation, there's nothing, and they're found sleeping rough. Those people then come into contact with the police, they come into contact with social services, they come into contact with other organizations, right? And then they check with the Home Office and they realize that there's no genuine vacancies for this organization. So some people who are coming would then be stopped at the airport. So as much as we are saying in comments, people who are coming here who are not getting hours are they should find another side hustle, they should do this, they should do this. That's not just the only issue. It's not an issue of just getting 20 hours. It's an issue of fraud. It's an issue of manipulating the system. It's an issue of deception. And so when these things are flagged up now, and it then affects those who are coming. So when we see people saying we don't have hours, when we see people saying I don't have a job, don't shut them down. So we've seen a lot of people saying we've been brought here, but we don't have any work, and we can't be paid, and they don't have recourse to public funds, so they can't get support. People get sick, they go into hospital. People get sick from sleeping outside in the cold, in the rain. And then this flags up and it becomes multi-agencies. You know, the agencies here are all connected. If you come into the NHS, how did you come here? I came to work. What happened? There were no hours. I ended up not being able to pay my rent. I ended up sleeping on the street. I got pneumonia. I'm in hospital. And then it goes back to the home office. So these issues are not one-sided issues. And for us as an organization, we also work with other organizations where we get a referral from a social worker. There's a person who's come, they're a migrant, new arrival, not just from Zimbabwe, from many countries. So the issue of genuine vacancies is a big issue. And it's an issue that doesn't just affect us, and it affects you at that place. So that's why I think I was getting really annoyed with people saying, just do 20 hours somewhere else, just find somewhere else to work. Yes, you can find 20 hours, right? But then it's going to have a ripple effect, because if you are doing 20 hours somewhere else, and at your main place where you're sponsored, you don't have any work. So say you're able to hustle and you get your 20 hours, you're able to survive. But it flags up anyway because you're not paying tax, isn't it, at your main employer, because you're not getting paid. So it will still reflect at the home office and then at the HMRC, which will show up on the system when a compliance check is done, or when there's a compliance visit. It will show that you've had 50 staff coming from Zim, but you're not paying tax for those 50 people. Or you've had 50 people coming from India and you're not paying. So that becomes an issue that affects everybody. It affects you because you can get, if the sponsor gets their license revoked, you don't have a job. Because their license has been revoked, so you can't even do those 20 hours. It affects you even when you apply for indefinite leave to remain, because you will have times where you can't show that you are working for your sponsor. So it's not just an issue of hustling, it's an issue of the ripple effect on everyone. So I would say to those people, the advice perhaps that I'm giving to those who don't have hours, because the number of people in our inbox, the number of people who have come, we found it. I'm actually now trying to allocate to try and get some more money to create a permanent role so that somebody can do this on a full-time basis, because there's such a demand for people to get advice, to signpost them to unions, to get them to be able to get advice when they're here, because it's so much. We've had so much ever since we launched this project. Just as a pilot, the number of carers who are struggling, not just from our own Zimbabwe, but from all over the world, it's just crazy. So what I would say to people in that situation, quickly switch. So if you find you come to a sponsor where there's no hours and you're not working, quickly look for another job. Apply on Indeed, apply on Read Jobs, apply everywhere, because you have to safeguard yourself. You have to make sure that you've got a sponsor who's got a genuine vacancy. Because if you have a sponsor who doesn't have a genuine vacancy and you're just on a visa, you are guilty of deception, because you are here on a lie. You are here on a lie, and it will come back to you. So don't think that it's safe to just stay and complain because they don't have hours. You're not going to create hours for them. And the person who's going to be affected the most is not the sponsor, it's you. Because you're the one who's made this move. You're the one who's made this decision to come to England. And then there's no hours. And so when you extend your visa, the problem will come to you. If the license for the sponsor is revoked, it won't affect their business. They will just recruit people who are already here. After 12 months, they can apply for another license. They can show what they've remedied, what they've done. They can have a cooling off period of 12 months. They can apply again. It doesn't affect them, but it affects you. So you complaining about them doesn't help You. So this is for the person who is being sponsored, who is sitting at home saying, I don't have hours. They're not giving me hours. Yeah? Complaining on your WhatsApp groups is not going to help you. Complaining to each other is not going to help you. Naming and shaming is not going to help you. You need to look after you. You need to get another job. I hope that's clear because I've been repeating myself. If there's no genuine vacancy, you need to get another job. You need to find another sponsor who is got genuine vacancies so that your situation doesn't reach a situation where you are without a visa or you're being refused. So if you've got no hours, no money, it affects you. It affects your pockets, and it does lead to depression, and it does lead to homelessness. Like I'm saying, we met people who are sleeping at the train station. We met people who are in prostitution because they're trying to find money to survive. So you don't have to get to those depths. You need to look for another job and make sure that you sort out your visa for yourself. Because what will happen is we'll have people who are now illegal. And for me, as somebody who's been doing immigration law for so many years, since 2007 up to now, working with immigrants, I don't want to see people going through what the last generation went through, the people who came here 2000, of staying in this country for 20 years with no papers, of becoming illegal and then having to start to work to get your papers. Don't allow yourself to get into that situation. So no hours, look for another sponsor. Please, by the mercies of God, don't be tempted to just do the 20 hours and think as long as I've got 20 hours, because it's then there's a ripple effect, like I said, yeah? So don't get tempted to just say, as long as nichingoita oma 20 hours, wow, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Because it will come back to bite you when you're extending your visa and when you're trying to stay. One of the things that I always think of is when you have this opportunity to come and after 5 years you can get your indefinite leave and stay and have a good, change your life. uh change it. Make sure that you stay on the lawful side. Pauline has just asked me a question which I'm going to answer because I think it just goes with everything that we're saying. When people used to lie for no reason, when people were claiming asylum, they used to lie. Lying for no reason, lying about your relatives. Why do you have to lie, or that you don't have relatives? I'm just looking at the question. Will that affect you? Unless what is the reason? If you are a relative, you're not related to this company. I don't know why they're telling you to lie about that. But sometimes that lie is what can trigger them to question, because maybe your relative has mentioned you. What if your relative is your parent who has previously made an application for you? And the systems are, they can see. We deal with people who've lied for no reason. And then when you've lied for no reason, you then get a refusal or it triggers more questions. And I think people just became used to lying, just lying and ending up believing their own lies. Our lies are true. So that question, don't become complicit in unnecessary fraud. It's not necessary to do it. I don't know how I can stress it, but some people are used to just lying. So you just lie about anything. It's not worth it, because if you have you ever applied for a visa to the UK? You have, and you've been refused, and you lie. No, never. And then you get a refusal on that basis, and then you get a 10-year ban on top of that. Do you have relatives here? No. But you applied once to visit your relative, and you applied and you mentioned that you've got all your relatives and it's there. So why lie for no reason? So I don't know why you are being told to do that, but in Ango, I don't believe in lying for no reason. Um, so that's one reason. I don't even know how I got to this, but genuine vacancies and people sitting at home not going to work and people frustrated. So that was what I was saying, that if you are not getting the hours, going on Facebook is not going to help. Naming and shaming is not going to help you. Because what you want is something that is going to change your life and make sure that you are on the right side of the law. So you've got to choose which battle you're fighting. And what is the benefit to you when you're fighting that battle? Because you can complain, but at the end of the day, you can't even make that employer create hours. Yeah, you can't. Even if you complain, kapasina ma hours, apana ma hours, and it apana ma hours, they're not there. So you have to make a plan for yourself and move. And you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. There's no one who can stop you from doing that. The other issue was about switching. People are also complaining about switching. So that we've been told we're not allowed to do it. We can't do it for like 2 years. We can't do it for. If you're finding that where you are, where you've got your sponsor, you don't have hours, no one can stop you if you find a job. So what I say is, don't switch because you're not happy that you're doing domiciliary care. You're not happy that it's raining. You're not happy that it's cold and you're going from place to place. Don't switch because you're not happy about certain conditions which are part of the employment. You knew what you were signing up for. You knew what you were coming for. So if it's the conditions, so there's a difference, isn't it? If it's the conditions that you're not happy about, the nature of the work, and you think you're going to go to another provider where you're not going to have to deal with personal care, bodily fluids, things like that, it's the same everywhere. And those conditions are not really going to change. I don't support when people have come, some sponsors have paid up front, and you knew you were coming for domiciliary care and you were happy with it. But when you come here, you want to now um, just abandon them. They've invested in training you, they've invested in bringing, and then you just abandon and jump ship and just want to use them as an opportunity. So that is that there's a difference there, isn't it? Switching just for the sake of switching, or just being a person who doesn't want to be trained, or so there's some people who are difficult and they want to, and if they phone me and say that to me, I wouldn't give, I would say no. You That's not, it's not good to do that, right? But if you are not getting any work, or if you're being abused, you're not being paid, you are being treated in a way that is not fair, you are being treated like just bads, in a way that is not fair. um, and you can see that I can't even talk to this person. I can't air my issues. I don't get explanations. I'm being shouted at, because there's some people who are being shouted at, sworn, threatened, beaten, slapped, even. Tensions get. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, or you're not being paid at all, or you're not. The conditions are very bad. Then you are allowed to switch. No one says that you can't. No one says you have to stay in a situation like that. You can look for somewhere else and you can go. But where you just feel, I don't want to work on a weekend because I'm used to this, or things like that, those are things that are not valid reasons. But there's no reason for you not to switch. And so don't be threatened, don't be manipulated, don't be coerced, don't be bullied, don't be told that you are a prisoner. There's no one who's a prisoner to an employer, right? So you have rights as any other employee in this country. Just that you're a foreign worker doesn't mean your rights are limited. It doesn't mean you are less of a person. It doesn't mean that you're not entitled to fair wages. It doesn't mean you're not entitled. You are. And you have the same rights. So if you find that a workplace is not serving you, then you have that right to switch. And that's one of the questions that I have very frequently. So how many months should I start to switch? Why are you switching, Loveness? Why? Why? Yeah, what's the reason? Yeah, so if your reason is you've arrived and you find it's not a genuine vacancy, you were sold a COS just to enter the UK, right? If you find that you've arrived in the UK and you are being asked to work as a prostitute, which is what's happening from some other countries, or you are coming to work as a person who's being trafficked to move drugs, or you've been brought in as a carer, but you're actually doing other work. That is what's happening to some people, hey? And so you can switch. And some, if it's modern day slavery, you can report it as modern day slavery if you've come and you're being exploited. So where there's no hours at all, you can switch straight away because it's not a genuine vacancy. So you can, as soon as you find that job, get a COS, apply for your visa. And what I would say is if you can, apply for it, use priority service, get it quickly and go. So that you're able to get your visa in your hand, you get your COS, you apply, and then you move. And especially when you know that there's no genuine vacancy. Another issue is Ratizai, if the driving is too much for you, but you misled them on your application and said you're a competent driver, you shouldn't do that. If you if you did an interview and you said I can drive, I'm very confident, and then you come and it's proving too much for you, it's not good. Loveness, I'm really sorry to hear that, and there's some people who actually commented on another uh, post to say that they've got vacancies. So I'll send you a link after this and you can apply. Um, so yeah, no, that's it. We don't like people who lie and say they can drive. And sponsors are complaining about people who are smashing cars and people who can't drive and they bought their licenses. That's not good. Even I never. I'm an employer. We have a business. I do not promote people who lie to employers, and I wouldn't like that. But if you're finding that it's got you into trouble and you can't drive and you're causing danger on the roads, then definitely, you probably need to leave that role, because you can end up having shame. Okay, you're a good driver. No, that's good. I'm laughing with you. It's good that you're a good driver. The pressure. Speak to your employer if you can, just tell them what the pressure is. What are you going through? I know sometimes some people are now, but if you have somebody who's a good employer, you can actually speak to them and talk about your what you're finding to be pressure rising. Um, what is it that is causing you so much hardship in the role that you're doing? So yeah. So another reason that people are being stopped and asked questions, interrogated at the immigration, or having um, having their visas revoked, is where there's a concern about people working for third parties. So where people are working for third parties. So sometimes you would come with somebody who's got no hours, but um, you are working for a third party. So Ratizai, thanks for that. So speak to them and tell them. Maybe they can help you and support you rather than you just leaving and going somewhere else. Because maybe the driving is hard there, but in another place, maybe there'll be something else that will be difficult. So speak to them and try and see how they can support you. If you have supervision or you have meetings where you talk about the challenges, tell them. And if you say they're a good person and you're working well, don't leave them. Try and problem solve that problem together and come up with a solution that works for everyone. So I think it's always good to communicate well. It's every relationship, work, uh, relationships, marriage, whatever. Communication. So thank you for saying that and acknowledging that they're good people. So that's really important. Working, so where there's this issue of where there is where you're working for a third party, it leads on from the issue of the genuine vacancy that I was talking about. The genuine vacancy, and this is also to any sponsors who are listening. We work with sponsors that we've worked with. You know, this the care visa has been there for years. So we've got some long-standing clients who we have worked with for many years, who are nursing homes. We've got nursing homes. We've got um, organizations where they've been bringing foreign workers for years, and sometimes with new providers, you find that you can advise, but people don't want to listen, isn't it? So you just do. You just you leave it. But one of the things is working for third parties. So where a skilled worker is being sponsored to one organization by another organization, and so maybe they're working for J. They've been sponsored by J, but effectively they're working for X. So they're working for another organization. That's another reason why people get flagged up, and that's another reason why they become it becomes an issue. And these issues can come out in a CQC audit when they ask for your rotas. It can come out where they see certain people are effectively working at one organization, but they're sponsored by another organization. And it's allowed where the sponsor must be the person who has full responsibility for that person, for the duties, functions, and outcomes and outputs of that job. So, like, I'm just reading from the guidance because I think it's so important to get this clear, that where company A has a contract with client company Z to deliver something like IT solution within an agreed time scale, then an applicant who's sponsored by company A can work at company Z's premises for that period, but they remain employed by A throughout the contract. But it's for a specific project, for a specific duration, and the functions, output, and companies for that particular project. Company A is the one that's responsible for it. So when you're working for a dom care or a company, but effectively they're sending you out to work for somebody else, that's another reason that can be flagged up by the Home Office. And where they don't have full responsibility for your duties, for everything that you do, you're supervising you and everything, then that can become a big problem. So it's an issue that can potentially become a problem, which can be flagged up in a compliance visit, leading to suspension and revocation, and that affects everyone. So it's really, really important, and so it's something that is key, and sometimes that becomes an issue. The other issue that we've seen being picked up at the airports or in visits or from people who've been questioned is where the job is not at an appropriate skill level. So there's some people who came as senior carers, which was the first code that was there, 6146. And then there's people who came as carers. And so a senior carer has got different role to a carer, and where a position has been exaggerated or where a position has been created simply to facilitate the migration of people, that can cause a problem. So it's important to know the skill, the occupation code, to know what your job description is, what your job role is, and that's more for sponsors rather than for people coming in. But that's really an important thing to just check, and to have a mock a mock audit. I do that with my long-standing clients. Mock audit just to check that everything they're compliant, and make sure that they're sticking to what they're supposed to be doing. So it's really, really important to be able to know that your sponsors are complying with everything that they need to comply with, but also you as an individual, where you see things that are not right, you then need to take responsibility for your own future and make sure that things are correct. And don't take part in deception knowingly, because it will only come back to bite you. It will come back to bite you. So yeah, so I really just wanted to talk about this no hours, the consequences in the long term for everyone, and that we're not being clever. Because sometimes people think they're being clever, but it's not being clever, because it will soon catch up. And it's something that I know from years and years in practicing immigration law. This is not something new. We've had highly skilled migrants, we've had work permit holders, we've had tier two, and now we've got skilled workers. It's something that has always been there since time immemorial. And the issues, I'll tell you an example of our migration journey. Even before I started practicing, my husband was on a work permit. Those years used to be given for 4 years. After 4 years, you get your indefinite leave to remain. He switched employers without applying for a new visa. And we all did that. It was at the time, even the HR, they didn't know. And they advised us incorrectly. I wasn't practicing immigration law. I didn't know. We got ourselves into a little bit of a tangle. But indefinite leave to remain, it came back to bite us. And we didn't get our indefinite leave to remain. And we had to start again. So we had to work again to get our indefinite leave to remain. It took us so many years to get there, but we were fortunate that we were able to do that. So what I would say to people is, you guys don't have to make the mistakes that we made, because we are there. We've made them. So you don't have to make them. So make use of the advice that you get here, where we give free advice on the thing. Make use of projects that are there available for you. Make sure that you get the correct advice. You know, as lawyers, we spend hours and hours studying and reading the guidance. We spend hours and hours going on training to do our CPD points. We write exams. We do all of these things to stay on top of things. But you find someone arguing with you because of what they've read on WhatsApp, from someone who's read it on an unverified source. And they will really be arguing. So I don't argue. I say leave it. Because when you do get problems, you still come back to us. So don't, there's so much information. There's Taffy who always gives so much information. There's so many people who give information which is credible. Because on YouTube, there's others who also just give because they want to get views. But it's not correct a lot of the times. So take the time to make sure that you get the correct information. You don't have to come to us. You can join a union. You can search. When you search, look at people's reviews. Look at what people say about them. Look whether they're credible, so that you get the right information, so that you don't fall into the problems that some of us experienced, and you don't have to go there, especially for those who are new and who've arrived here. So I'm just going to answer some of the questions before I jump off. Before you go, one question: a caregiver, can she take her children later? Yes, yeah, the children can come later. I think it's good for children to come a little bit later, to allow someone to settle, allow somebody to settle, and then bring the children later, unless like they're turning 18 or something, or there's some desperate reason why you've got to bring them at the same time. But I would say probably just come, settle, and then the kids will follow as soon as you are able to, because accommodation is a real problem at the moment. It's not just a problem for carers, it's a problem. There's a shortage of accommodation in the country. There's a shortage. It's a small island, so there's a shortage of accommodation everywhere. So even people who are on the waiting list in temporary accommodation, it's actually a big issue. So maybe try and settle, get accommodation, and then bring the family a little bit later, and the children, when you are settled, because you don't want to traumatize them, and you don't want to be in a situation where things are really, really tough. Right. Is there any other question? Let me just check. Somebody said annual leave changed to unpaid leave. Why? Did you ask for? I don't know. Annual leave is annual leave, but maybe you went on unauthorized leave. Maybe sometimes it's unauthorized, you haven't checked with them, or somebody just decides when they want to go on annual leave. But employers will have like a leave, like like a rota, so that they cover certain aspects of the job. So if somebody requests annual leave, it can be refused as well if you request it, and the business needs cannot facilitate that leave at that time. It's within the employer's rights to say, no, you can't have annual leave on this day, but you can have it on this day. So annual leave is an entitlement, but when it's taken, an employer still has to put the business needs first. So it can be everybody can say we want to be off at Christmas, but that will leave the people that you're looking after with no one to look after them. So they can say, no, you can't go off at Christmas, but you can go off then. So I'm not sure about the circumstances of why the annual leave changed to unpaid leave, but it could be that it was an unauthorized absence. So mota ikafa, is it the employee's responsibility? It depends on whose car it is, isn't it? It's a company car, but what happened if it's due to negligence in the driving? It's every situation is a unique situation. So I don't want to give like a blanket response to some things, because it's important to get more information and to get clarity about the circumstances that have arisen to come to that place. Why are they saying that it's your responsibility? What happened to the car? Who's responsible for it, etc. So there's a lot of other questions that we can ask before just making a blanket answer. Ratizai, shout out to your good employer. Good employers are good. And there are lots of good employers, but we don't talk about them because it's not, bad news spreads faster, isn't it? So yeah. Prince, thanks. You can book her on. The link is up there, so you can book your auntie on. Loveness, send me a DM so that I can send you some links. Mabasa Ariko, you can definitely switch, yeah? So don't stay at home not working. No. Some people want to switch kuti vanogara nehama dzavo. It's not even easy, and it's not fair. It's not fair to the employer when you come and then you say, and that's why maybe somebody was asking about this free employers and things like that. People as well, employers have been burnt. Employers have got their own stories, and it's causing a lot of stress sometimes when people come and they feel entitled. When you've come here to work and you're working in Devon, you can't now start causing problems because your relatives are in Birmingham, but you knew what you were coming for. So I don't support things like that. So that's not good. Yeah, so there we go. Can you switch from visitor's visa to working visa? No, you can't. Can you switch from immigration bail or when you're an overstayer to work visa? No. Yeah. Okay, I think I've answered. Blessing. If you have a level 1 user or the authorized person who assigns the COS, Blessing Chishano, they can allocate to your family member if it's not you assigning the COS, but you have to show that somebody else interviewed them for the job, and you also have to declare it on your sponsor note that you're related to the director or whoever it is. So you do have to make a declaration. You have to show that you are not the person who interviewed them, and you are not allowed if you have assigned the COS to them. So family members. So make sure that you are aware of that, because that's also an issue that can become quite, it can cause quite a lot of problems on a compliance visit, or if it comes to the attention of the authorities. So make sure you're on the good side of that. And always remember, genuine vacancy. Right. I think Pauline, I think I've answered your question about your nephew. Good luck to them. Hope they have a fruitful time in this country. Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. And just before I go, um, this you can't see it because it's the wrong way around, but this is a project that we are doing. It's called Care for the Carers. So I currently run Tulia, which is a community interest company. We have a profit side where we make money. So we trade, we give advice, we do services where we charge people for our services. But we also have work that we do where we provide free advice. One of those is our free advices on a Tuesday, where you're able to book in on Calendly, and we're able to give you advice. And we're sponsored to do that. We're sponsored by Heart of England Community Foundation. We're sponsored by an amazing organization called JCT. We're sponsored by the Allen Lane Foundation. We're sponsored by the National Lottery. So we have funds which enable us to be able to give free advice. There's nothing for free. Somebody's paying for it. So when we say free, it's free to you, but there's somebody who's paying for it. So we want to thank those people who partner with us and who enable us to be able to serve the community. So we provide information, advice, resources, emergency accommodation. We provide emergency accommodation. We also receive sponsorship from some private companies. So we get a lot of support from private individuals who donate accommodation or who can pay. If someone is stranded, they're at a train station, they're sleeping there, we put them up in an Airbnb, put them up in a hotel, try and sort them out for the time when we have the resources. But at the moment, we're waiting for a decision so that we will be able to have a house where we can put people in. But in the meantime, we signpost, we try and sort them out and try and link people as well. If you've got a spare room and you want to help out someone for a short period of time, please do contact us. We're always looking for people who can help. And victims of domestic violence, we're also able to help, to signpost, to help you to get refuge space. Even if you don't have recourse to public funds, there is help available for you. If you've got children, if you are a victim of domestic violence, there are bed spaces for people who have no recourse to public funds. So the fact that you don't have recourse to public funds doesn't mean that you cannot get help if you are a victim of domestic violence. If you've got an inquiry, please email us at info@tulia.org.uk or go onto our website. If you are a professional, you can also refer people to us. We also have professionals who refer people on immigration issues, or where there's an immigration issue overlapped with family law. Please don't call the number that's on this flyer. Text. It says text on WhatsApp. So please don't phone, text if you've got an issue, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much, everybody, and have an amazing weekend. God bless you. Be blessed, and take care. And there was somebody. I'll look for you later in the chat. Keep looking, and don't give up. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye-bye.